Hey, Nelson's Crypto here. Hope everyone's having a great day. Today, I want to talk a little bit about Kaspa, some information that's been going around by people FUDing it, talking about a potential pre-mine or speed mine, and that Kaspa was never promoted. Nobody knew about it, and Polychain and DagLab employees mined as much of it as they could, and why it could be a centralized crypto, which I think is bogus. And we'll get into some of that. First, Caspa's chart is looking really good still. I haven't really seen any sort of pullback. It broke highs recently, and it's just been consolidating here in this price range between 4.5 and 4.475 cents there. It's consolidating nicely. I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least 5 cents in the next week, maybe even before that. It looks like it's primed for a potential pump really soon. So let's get into a little bit of the FUD. So there's a lot of people on Twitter here, like this guy, Flaw Bored. Obviously, he's bored and trying to find flaws, whether they be small or big or stupid, apparently. Um, so there's no ledger history, and he's claiming that there's no pre-mine my ass. Well, I can prove to you that there was no pre-mine. And if anyone has questions about Caspa, I do not understand why they don't go to Shay. This guy, any question that's out there, anyone that wants to spread FUD, he loves to answer questions. He loves to talk about crypto. I don't understand why everyone just wants to go tweet all this crap instead of go to the devs and just ask them legitimate questions. A lot of people say, oh, they kicked me off their Discord. No, you can go read some of the posts Shay's done recently. He's posted some comments that people that got banned for asking legitimate questions when really they're just harassment and crap. Okay, so first let's get into it. So hi, Kaspa. Apparently some people are concerned about the fact that we have some gaps in our ledger history, which is actually concerning. There should not be gaps for tax reasons or aesthetics or whatever. I mean, you should have your complete ledger. That is a boo-boo for them with their pruning of information off the blocks and nodes to keep them running efficient and fast, which is understandable, but they just need to have a way to archive that. So some people have asked whether this somehow implies there are issues with the security or transparency of the chain. And as usual, some trolls we all know when as far as arguing this proves we are hiding the fact that we speed mine the coin. Let me put your mind at ease. As I am about to explain, this is a complete non-issue. Before we start, you have to understand that pruning is essential. Without pruning a full capacity, 10 blocks per second, the ledger grows at a rate of almost 30 terabytes a year. This is extremely non-sustainable if we hope Kaspa is to remain decentralized. The main concern is it seems that the lack of the entire ledger data implies that the current state could not be verified from Genesis, and in particular that there is no proof that there was no pre-mine. This is not the case. The Genesis block itself is hardwired into the code, as you can see here. So we'll go to the GitHub, we'll look at the code. You can see here the UTXO comment is an empty mu hash, okay? Or I don't know if I said that right. But either way, it's empty. There's no leftover cryptocurrency from the transaction. So a UTXO would be leftover cryptocurrency after any transaction. And right here in the hardwired code from GitHub, there's nothing left over from that transaction from the Genesis block. So that alone, flat out proves that there was no pre-mine, because if there was a pre-mine, there would have been left over from the Genesis block. I don't know why there seems to be issues with this. There's obvious proof. But a lot of these people, I think it's funny, that are throwing a fit about this are actually cryptos that have set aside 20 or 30% of their supply to fund their projects, aka just dump on you and run away. Oh, but they're waiting 10 years to release it. Yeah, okay, well, they'll just keep dumping on you over the 10 years and they're not making any improvements, and they'll just go and make a whole nother crypto and do it all over again. Anyway, let's get back into it. So in particular, the line 163, which is what I showed you, I linked to shows that the hardwired Genesis block has an empty UTXO set. That is, there was no premine. The thorough reader can clone the repo and verify that empty muhash is indeed defined as the hash of an empty set. Among the data stored by the node is a proof of Genesis. The proof of Genesis is a short string that cryptographically proves that the current state indeed evolved from the hardwired Genesis block, but has magical property that forging such a proof requires as much work as was put into creating the entire ledger. That is, this string provides proof that the Genesis block and current state are authentic and that this proof is just as sound as having the entire ledger. The technical used to generate the proof is discussed here. If you want to check out his Twitter and check that out, you can. You can also refer to the Premine block headers section of the GhostDAG 101 workshop for a broad overview of the technique. If you're not too concerned with Premine block headers, you can go ahead and check out the overview of the technique. The bottom line is that the data available for each node suffices to verify the current state from Genesis. Not running an archival node from day one might have been a bit short-sighted. I would say so. I would say it was a mistake. But frankly, there was so much to do post-launch that it got sidelined. Mainly because we knew that it is not crucial for the security or integrity of the network, so it wasn't highly prioritized. Now, I kind of understand this, but at the same time, I don't, and I feel like it should have been highly prioritized because this could be tax implications for someone that was mining. I mean, someone like me who mines, every time I get a deposit, I need to have that information of when it happened, date and time, how much I got, so I can, file my taxes properly. So this is important for me. I know it's not maybe important for the security or integrity of the network, but it is important for a lot of people. The ledger data is not very interesting. I really don't understand what most users expect to find there. That being said, there are reasons to want the entire ledger data, the main ones being authentics, statistics and research. This data could be used to investigate trends in global phenomenon. User needs. Some users might need this data for tax audit reasons. Yeah, that's why I need it. And for this reason, we're making an effort to piece together the entire history. So in particular, if you happen to have old data deers, please give us a shout out in the Data Deer Exchange channel on our Discord server. So if you have any of this information, you would like to help them piece it together, which would be really awesome. If they can piece this together, to me, it's just like 100% non-issue. It's already a pretty small issue for me personally. But it would be nice to have it pieced together so these fudders can just go screw off. As mentioned, some bored fudders in dire need of a better hobby tried to leverage this as proof that we have speed mined or whatever. This is a stupid argument for one reason. It is impossible for anyone on any permissionless coin to prove that they don't have more money than they claim to have. It is simply not possible. Anyone who wants to hide coins could store them in a separate address they keep secret. Proving that two addresses belong to the same person ranges from extremely difficult to impossible. When the coins in question are mined by the person, this is strictly impossible since the miner can just mine the access to a separate address, and there is no history showing these coins are linked to the known address. This remains true even with the entire ledger data available. And I completely agree. Even if you have the ledger data, unless people were completely stupid, they could just mine to multiple different addresses and you never know. Even in the hypothetical, extremely unrealistic case that's somewhere within the history there is some smoking gun proving wrongdoing by someone, the current state of affairs is that we are piecing together the history from data retained by users. In particular, any user can verify the data deer they own was included, so it could not be convincingly omitted. Hence, no single person has any control over where the gaps in history actually are. So what is the argument here actually? That the full ledger data hides some terrible secret and we are counting on blind luck that particular portion containing this secret will never turn up? I completely agree with them here there. So in summary, the printing mechanism is designed such that Kaspa is safe and secure and retains its integrity even without any archival node whatsoever. The lack of archival nodes does not make it easier in any way to hide funds. There are some drawbacks to the gaps in history, but they are mostly about research data and user convenience, and they do not compromise the transparency and security of the network in any way whatsoever. P.S. Not an extremely crucial point, but you have to admire the irony. Some of the trolls pushing this FUD are proponents of a particular privacy coin. The entire promise of privacy coins is that the entire ledger is concealed and that there is no way to know who paid who and how much. So according to these people's flawed logic that the entire ledger is inaccessible as a feature, but some small gaps in the history are a lack of transparency. This is a particular colorful example of morons drawing targets around poorly shot arrows. And he's completely right too. I mean, with the privacy coins, you can't see all the transactions, right? So Kaspa isn't a privacy coin, but it's completely ironic that people from a coin that hide their transactions would be even bitching about this scenario. Where you looked at that. So a lot of people said that Kaspa also was not talked about at all, and it was kind of head secret. But you can see here, Guy wrote a nice little, I would say tiny, little information piece on Medium, April 13th, when the testnet came out. He wrote a little bit about it. He also left all the DagLab Twitters and Medium and the GitHub and all the white papers, Kaspa Discord if you wanted to get involved. And he also tweeted, Jonathan's. Oh, he also quoted Jonathan's tweet about when Kaspa's testnet was launched, which was April of 2021, which we all know Kaspa was launched officially, the mainnet, in November 2021. So months before even the mainnet was launched, it was publicly mentioned by multiple people high up, and a Discord had already been started for the public. So I don't understand where you can say that this information has been hidden, because all the information's been out there. Just because you didn't know Jonathan or you didn't know Guy and you didn't really follow DAG Labs, you can't really sit there and say, oh, nobody knew about it. I mean, the information was out there. Everyone didn't know about it. You can also go to Kaspa's tweets themselves, their main Twitter profile, and you can find lots of tweets from the beginning of November. You can find lots of Discord information from the beginning of November. Quotes about how there's 1,300 active miners as of now, which is November 13th. So there's lots of information out there. Here you can look at the emission schedule. You can see that we're right about here, right before our next emission schedule reduction. If you look at the block explorer, that's pretty dang close to the supply. It's not completely right on par. I don't always expect it to be perfect, but it is really, really close. So if it was speed mined or sped up or something in the beginning when the ledger was hidden, I wouldn't even say hidden, it's just been lost. It's not archived. I mean, whatever you want to call it, it's not hidden. The information's out there and they're going to piece it together. This number will correct though, because you can look at the Kaspa hash rate, which is just going through the roof, which is crazy with all the ASICs coming online. You'll probably see the blocks and the amount of Kaspa in supply differ a little bit as the difficulty has to catch up with the amount the hash rate is increasing, which is pretty nuts that it's literally gone up from like 1 petahash in June all the way to 4.5 petahash almost now in just 2 months, which we're probably going to see it easily go way higher than this. We'll have to see what happens when all the ASICs come online. One thing I want to end this note with, though, is that I found this interview interesting. I've watched it a few times, but I never really caught Jonathan talking about how he was going to build another coin, which a lot of people have talked about, how there's potentially Jonathan is Satoshi. Who really knows? And and who really knows if he is or isn't. But it's quite interesting to hear him talk. The things he say definitely makes you think that he could potentially be Satoshi. But there is no solid proof. But let's just listen to how he talks right here.
2008, what the assumptions of the network were by then, what were the technological and scientific understandings at the time. We're kind of stuck with that. This seems like an arbitrary point to fixate our entire movement and our entire money, crypto money, on that specific point in time. With that said, indeed, I wasn't, and I'm still not taking it lightly to invent another coin.
So he's not taking it lightly to invent another coin. Now, I really wish somebody would ask him what other coin that he has invented. I know he's worked on a lot of coins. I mean, his protocols are used in a lot of cryptos out there, and he's mentioned on multiple white papers. But I really find that comment very interesting. With that, we're going to end it for today, guys, and I hope everyone has a good one, and I will see you next time.